We've tested drivers under all sorts of conditions over the years, drunk, exhausted, distracted by cell phones or by food, but I've never seen anything as dramatic as this. How could you possibly do this and drive?
One hand on the wheel and one hand on the phone.
And the eyes?
Focusing halfway on my phone, halfway on the road.
Which is precisely why kids aren't supposed to drive intoxicated. How many of you, by show of hands, are pretty confident your kids are following that rule? But not one of them is. Not Colin.
Have it below the dashboard in case any cops see it.
Not Becca.
If somebody texts me real quick, I'll text them back real quick.
I guess that's somewhat of a shock.
Not Becca's boyfriend, Greg.
I had one close call and I was texting.
And not Nick.
Normally at stop signs and red lights, not normally like while I'm on a highway or anything like that. Once in a while, if it's really necessary, I will.
I am surprised.
And while it is these four we asked to try our driving while texting test,
my bad.
We probably could have asked nearly any teen in town. It's not legal if you're under 18, but how many teens message and motor? We found a lot of text MSG action at the boys and girls state basketball tournaments. So here is where we hand out a Fox 9 investigators survey. 161 teens filled them out. 160 of them said they have a cell phone. All but one. Of those with phones, 157 have a text messaging feature. All but 3.
I text every day, probably about 100 messages a day.
148, or 91%, talk on the phone while driving.
I can't text and drive at the same time.
But many do. 140 of the teens we surveyed, or 86%, read incoming text messages while driving. 58 do it every day. 122 write and send text messages while driving. 42 of them do it daily.
I didn't realize that they were texting and driving.
And here's the real eye-opener. 76 teens said they've had at least one close call while messaging. 11 have had several.
I was just driving down the road and I was texting and I didn't look up often enough, and I started getting onto the shoulder, and I had to slow down and cut back and get back on the road.
We won't use the real road for our test, but a realistic course.
This is not unlike what you'd find in a normal driving situation.
At the Minnesota Highway Safety Center in St. Cloud. We have 8 cameras trained on the track.
This is an action movie. This is so sweet.
They'll use a car usually used here for police training.
Are you comfortable driving?
Yeah. Can I use the siren?
Here goes. That's so tight. Greg, check it out.
Those with the most real-life practice driving intoxicated are the most confident.
I don't think it'll affect it too much.
Remember that for when the results come in.
Whoa.
Which will show the kids' parents. We start with a cruise around a quarter-mile track.
There's going to be a lot of cornering, a lot of turning.
Colin's up first.
I asked him what he did this week.
Nick, our fastest messenger, keeps the conversation moving.
No, what time do you work till? Yeah, he's got to write out numbers then.
Watch how often Colin takes his eyes off the road.
There's a long span there.
1, 2, even 3 seconds at a time.
This is dangerous.
Because at 60 miles per hour, you travel about 90 feet in 1 second. Take your eyes off the road 2 seconds, and you've gone 180 feet.
I worged till 11.
It's not just Colin's spelling that's off.
The text messaging did distract me a little bit.
He misses a turn.
I thought I would drive better.
And runs off the road a couple of times.
Not big time off-road, but off-road enough that if I was on a country road or one of the 55-mile-an-hour roads and I dropped off the shoulder, I could have a disaster coming back on.
Becca.
How long have you and Greg been going out?
Is more tentative.
What else do I ask her? Come on, give me something. What kind of car do you drive?
And she was braking while she was texting.
Which isn't safe either.
No, I'll be like, do you know any foreign words? If so, please list.
Greg's speed is erratic as he tries to text.
Greg, try to pick your speed up just a little bit.
What are you up to? Oh, never mind. It's for someone else.
Was I supposed to go this way?
Greg went 8 times off-road. I mean, he went off-road.
It was kind of distracting to try to text and drive at the same time, but I think I did okay.
He left the road. He actually cut the corners off because while he was texting, because as we came into a curve, it was too late.
And Nick?
Missed a couple of my turns. That was actually due to me looking down.
Should I turn around?
I took a corner a little too sharp at one point, too. I think that had a lot to do with the texting.
Up to this point, our drivers have tackled everyday driving. But what if, while texting, they have to react suddenly?
You're texting and all of a sudden you look up and the bus has stopped. What am I going to do now? You go to the brakes, you're going to hit the bus.
This is called a crash avoidance drill.
Go to the light, doesn't come on.
A series of lights show drivers at the last second which way to swerve.
You're going to have to put a hard steer. You're going to have to turn that steering wheel or else you're going to hit whatever's in the middle.
You went right straight down the middle and you just ran into that school bus.
I think it's very scary.
They're distracted, and worse, they can't turn the steering wheel as far as they need to because one hand's holding the phone.
You got the crossing guard. It's waiting for the bus.
That's hard to do without the phone, but with the phone it's even harder to do.
Well, stuff like that can happen in a moment's notice if someone would walk out in front of you.
So could this. Imagine hitting a patch of ice while texting.
We run into a lot of skids in the state of Minnesota.
Turn to the right, go.
Before we were texting, we was doing a really nice job.
But while trying to text,
we would have done anything from going into the median to on up into oncoming traffic, or just spinning around in our lane and facing oncoming traffic. It'd kill us.
And you only have to try this once.
Today was pretty eye-opening for me.
To get it.
It makes you rethink how much control you are of your car to begin with, but then when you throw texting in, you're not in control at all. I wonder if cops are going to see us on the news and track us down and be like, oh, they're texting while driving.
Cops? Maybe not.
And it's lucky they were on a course that day.
But parents,
Maybe remove the text messaging feature of the phone.
they're all over it.
I think it's useful as parents and as kids to see what actually can happen.
Our Fox 9 survey showed that most teens are now texting their friends more often than they're talking to them on their cell phones. One teen told us that he's more familiar with his cell phone texting keypad than his computer keyboard. For complete survey results, go to myfox9.com, click on News, and then Investigators. I'm Trish Van Pilsum for the Fox 9 Investigators.